Well, hello. Hope everybody's doing well out there. Now, the majority of the people that watch my content would probably consider themselves red-pilled, which is why in tonight's video, I want to talk about how to outgrow the red pill. You may not be ready to outgrow the red pill at this point, but one day you very well might look at yourself in the mirror and you might say, I want to walk away from this way of thinking. So in tonight's video, that's what we're going to talk about. We are going to talk about outgrowing or overcoming red pill ideology. Now, I understand most of you guys think there are only two ways of living, red-pilled and blue-pilled. So if you're not red-pilled, you're blue-pilled. If you believe this, you are part of a cult. That's not normal. You're not supposed to think that way. Everybody has their own way of seeing the world based on how they've been treated by the world, what they've experienced in their life. You know, their experiences create their perception of reality. So do yours. So there's not red pill and blue pilled. Everybody has their own unique experience. You got to understand that. Now, the reason why so many guys out there resonate with the red pill is because we could start with the three pillars. I'll call them the three pillars of the red pill. Pillar number one is hypergamy, which means women date up and across dominance hierarchies. Pillar number two is, we could call it the alpha fucks and the beta bucks, meaning women like to have sex with a young, healthy, hot guy, have babies with that guy even, but they like to settle down and get married to the rich and successful guy, right? And pillar number three is probably game, right? Your strategy to succeed in the sexual market. Now, guys resonate with that typically because they've been through an experience where pillar number one has come true in their life. Right? They have witnessed with their own eyes a woman dating up and across the dominance hierarchy. Maybe they've witnessed a woman choosing a different man over them because he was more successful. Pillar number two, alpha fucks, beta bucks. You know, we can all sort of rationalize with that, right? We've seen women fuck hot guys. We've seen women marry rich guys. It happens. We know this. Right? So we can rationalize that. And game, right? Strategy. We all understand you have to have strategy in everything that you do. So when guys find the red pill and they realize, oh, wow, they start to put things together like, oh, wow, everybody's experiencing the same thing. You know, it becomes overwhelming and they get a little bit obsessed with it and they start to constantly try to push red pill ideology into their daily life, you could say. But the problem with this is the red pill is ultimately the black pill. The red pill always leads you to the black pill. What's the black pill? And all the normies out there watching this are like, what the fuck is this dork talking about? Anyways, so the black pill is basically an idea that women like successful giga-chads, successful good-looking men. And if you're not a successful and good-looking man, then you're going to have to resort to something like simping, tricking, sometimes even getting a cosmetic surgery to make yourself look better or something like that in order to get a woman. So most black-pilled guys say, you're better off just giving up, you know, just getting yourself out of the sexual market. Now, the red pill ultimately leads to that as well. So the three pillars of the red pill, hypergamy, alpha fucks, beta bucks, and game, all three ultimately lead you to she's not yours, it's just your turn, right? If hypergamy is true 100% of the time, women date up and across dominance hierarchies, that means as soon as she sees an opportunity with a man that is more successful than you, she's going to monkey branch over to him. And you do hear a lot of that in the red-pilled community. A lot of guys have horror stories of that actually happening to them. Same thing with the alpha fucks, the beta bucks, right? She's always going to find a hotter guy than you. She's always going to find a richer guy than you. So eventually she's going to monkey branch. She's not yours, it's just your turn. And same thing with game, right? You may have good game, but eventually some guy's going to come around that has better game than you. You know, they say Kevin from sales. That's where that comes from. What that means is he has more game than you. He's a smoother talker than you. Therefore, he is going to seduce her and take her away from you, or at least compel her to cheat on you with him, or something like that. So the starting point of the red pill is, you know, the educational phase of those 3 pillars. And the finish line is she's not yours, it's just your turn, which always sends you right back to the starting point because then you're single again and you're even more red pilled. So it's this cycle of constantly being red pilled. Now, with that being said, how would somebody overcome the red pill? How would you snap out of this way of thinking? What you need to understand, first of all, is the percentage of people in this world that are red pilled, it's a very small percentage, less than 10%. Okay? And why is that? Is that because 90% of the world is blue pilled and you have information that they don't have? No, that's not the case. I know a lot of people probably think that's the case, but you know, that's arrogance. That's just a goofy way of thinking. The truth of the matter is, and this is just my experience, this is the marketplace of ideas. You know, I'm not part of the echo chamber where we all repeat the same thing. I am part of the marketplace of ideas where we all bring our own unique perspective. And my perspective comes from a guy that over the course of the last 5 years, I have had one-on-one conversations, coachings, you could say, with a lot of guys. Hundreds of guys, maybe 1,000 guys, I don't know. And one thing that I've noticed is the guys that are red-pilled almost every time are trapped in the web of narcissism. And it's ironic because I think doctors say about 10% of people are narcissistic, highly narcissistic, to a point where it's actually a medical condition, a psychological condition. So when I ask these guys, you know, when we start to break down in their lives, what has caused them to get where they're at? I'll give you an example of a guy that I was speaking to just a couple of weeks ago, but a lot of them have stories very similar to this one. So he was with a woman that was treating him like crap, right? She was basically using him. Like if he wasn't, or she was giving him ultimatums, you could say. If he wasn't performing at a certain level, she would, throw tantrums, just basically become a total bitch to him, or threaten to leave him, or sometimes she would leave him, give him the silent treatment, and just disappear for a month or so. And then when he was performing well, she would give him breadcrumbs, and eventually she would just, she would start to devalue him again and, put him through this cycle constantly over and over again. So I had to ask him, it was like, hold on, before this girl came along, we have to go way back in your life. We have to look back and find out why you got to where you're at today, why you're getting with this type of a woman. And so we start to get to the nuts and bolts of his life. And he grew up with a single mother. And this single mother was, I'll just go over a few things that she was doing. One, they lived in a state that was very hot. Like summer times were about 110 degrees. And they had like a big house, and she had a window unit air conditioner in her room. And the rest of the house didn't have air conditioning. So he's in 110 degrees trying to sleep with a fan and shit. And she's got an air conditioner in her room. She had a computer in her room with the internet. The rest of the house didn't have it. He didn't have access to that. A few other things that we don't have to get into, but he would mow the lawn, he would take the trash out, he would do all the chores. So he was taking care of a lot of duties and responsibilities around the house but he wasn't receiving like a fair amount of amenities. His mother was treating him like she was doing the bare minimum to not get reported or get convicted of child abuse or child neglect, I should say. And he just thought that was normal. So come to find out, this guy was raised in a highly narcissistic household. You know, his mother was a total narcissist. She had no empathy for the way he felt. She just couldn't rationalize in her mind what he might be going through. And she viewed him as somebody that was there to serve her, do things for her, and she was never required to do anything back to him, to give anything back to him. So you see, somebody that has an extreme amount of narcissism, somebody that is highly narcissistic, they are almost like a balloon with a hole in it. And rather than patching up the hole, they just want somebody to keep blowing it up. As it's getting empty, just keep blowing it up. And they never expect to have to do anything about it because that's just how they are. They expect the rest of the world to just keep blowing the balloon up. They'll never patch it. That's what a narcissist is like. They constantly want money, attention, affection, but they never have to give anything back. And they're always emptying. It's like they start out every day on empty and they need somebody to blow them up. It's just a never-ending cycle. I hope that makes sense, but that's what narcissism is. And guys that have been raised in a narcissistic household, they're going to grow up to believe that all women are like that. They're going to grow up to believe that they're not good enough, you could say. Because if you're somebody that believes in the red pill, and the red pill ultimately always leads to she's not yours, it's just your turn, what that means is you don't think you're good enough. And I'm not being a blue-pilled simp or something like that here. I'm just saying, if you think about it, that's what it means. And the only way you could come to that rationalization or to that point is by you being abused, you being mistreated. And somehow this is where you've gotten. And when I'm coaching guys or talking to guys and I find things like this out, which 90% of them go through this sort of thing, it's not exactly the same story, but it's something similar. It's pretty easy to come to the conclusion. It's like, dude, you have been conditioned to believe that you're never going to be good enough. And you're always going to be attracted to these narcissists. So you believe they're all like that because you grew up with one. Therefore, you find your comfort zone with people with cluster B personality disorders, narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, whatever. People that are psychologically ill are people that you assume to be normal. That's what you relate to. That's what you were raised and put into. And as soon as you start to realize that that's what you're going through, that's when you can actually find a solution. Because constantly going through the red pill cycle of, the starting point being cramming all this information in your brain, the finish line always being she's not yours, it's just your turn, eventually you're going to want to get out of that. And you can get out of that. And when you do get out of that and you realize that, holy shit, 90% of women aren't that bad. They're loving, they're supporting, they're loyal. They're pretty fucking good people. You can heal. You can get over it. You can break free of that. But it has to be something that you want to do. Otherwise, you're just going to stay in that red-pilled echo chamber. And I'm not going to tell you that you should get out. It's up to you to decide that. But anyways, guys, this is just my experience. Just sharing my experience. And that's all I can do. So I hope you found this video somewhat informative. I hope you found it relatable. And if you didn't, come back in a few years. Maybe you will then. That's about it for tonight, guys. Until next time, See ya.
Subscribe to the channel.